Hey everyone, talking about how you can resell fragrance samples that you've partially used and get some of your money back, and somebody else can get to enjoy it. Specifically focusing on the subreddit called FragranceSwap. So before I started my decant site, Decant Planet, for like almost 2 years, I sold stuff on FragranceSwap, and not even decants. I didn't start really decanting until I started my own site. It was just like my own stuff that I sampled. That is how I've been able to try so many thousands of fragrances, in large part from being able to get some of my money back from selling or trading on FragranceSwap. So I really wanted to share that with other people because I think a lot of people don't realize either kind of how to go about it, or that that's even really possible to do with fragrances that you've already kind of used some of the sample of. But it absolutely is. I sold thousands of fragrances on there, and I had overwhelmingly really good experiences. So I really want to encourage other people to do that and be able to hopefully try more stuff or whatever, and get other people to try more stuff too. Going to link to a post in the description where I'm going to show more about kind of the formatting, screenshots and stuff like that. I thought about doing that in this video, and I even kind of started to do some screen recording, but ultimately I think it would be easier for everybody to be able to just refer to the page instead of having to like pause, let me go back to that part, let me find that part in the video. Then you'll just kind of have everything there. I'm still going to talk about it here, but I'll link to the actual page that shows the screenshots, stuff that you can even copy and paste and stuff like that. So let's just kind of walk through some of it. So for getting started, accounts that are under 30 days of age, like it was created super recently or joined the subreddit super recently I think too, or if you have really low Reddit karma, which means like the number of upvotes your posts have gotten, then you won't be allowed to post. But you can send a PM to the mods with proof of references from other places you've sold to get around even that, and otherwise just wait 30 days or whatever after you created the account to be able to sell. For the thread title aspect, there's rules about like how exactly stuff has to be formatted. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking when you're getting started, kind of like, what if I post something wrong? But there's a bot that monitors it, so it'll just automatically like typically delete it and send you a message if you post something wrong, so you don't really have to worry so much about getting like called out by people in comments or anything like that. So yeah, the thread title has to start with, in brackets, making it clear whether you're trying to buy, sell, trade, or give away something, and you might want to do multiple of those. So it would be like in brackets WTB for want to buy, WTS for want to sell, WTT for want to trade, or gift if it's like something you're giving away. And then every thread title has to end with, in parentheses, decant or bottle, depending on whether you're selling decant or bottle. And you can just use both, one after the other. And again, the page will have some references to that if you are selling both. So that way it's also, as a user, when you're wanting, to like scroll through and kind of try to find stuff to buy or whatever, you can easily see like, okay, like say that you're looking for fragrance, but you only want a sample of it. You don't even have to click the thing if you can see right in the title, like, oh, okay, this person's just selling bottles, stuff like that. As for the content, if you're posting a thread for selling or trading, you have to include a currency symbol somewhere in your post, or it'll automatically flag it for deletion, because they don't want people to post anything without a set price for sale. So even just anywhere, like, a dollar sign or whatever, that something basically just needs to like reference actual costs, not just say, this is what I have, message me an offer or something like that. Next, a link to pictures of the items you're selling. Depending on your credibility and how long you've been part of the community and how many things you're selling, this is definitely relaxed sometimes. Like there was points where I was selling 700 plus samples at a time, not like in one big lot, but like in a spreadsheet for people to choose from, and I did not post a picture of that, and I never had any issues, and I never had any complaints or anything like that. But then again, I did often send people a picture of their samples before I actually sent it to them, but nobody even asked for that. I just did it proactively. But yeah, so if you have like tons of different stuff, I would say don't stress too much about like, let me try to get a picture of every single individual little sample or anything like that. But it's, especially if you're only selling a handful of things, yeah, it's the best to just post a picture. And it really, for your own sake, if it is not something that's totally full, then you can show exactly what the fill level is before the person buys it. Avoid any drama with them saying like, I thought it was this much full or whatever, because they saw the picture or whatever. Once everything in your thread has been sold, you can add a post under the thread saying sold. Like just write, post a comment saying sold in that thread, and that'll automatically trigger a sold flare to be applied to the thread. If you're selling multiple items and only some of them have sold, you can just edit the thread and put like a strike through of the items that have sold and put sold in parentheses or something like that. But that stuff, I mean, they don't seem to be too much sticklers about that or anything like that. The one rule really to follow is don't delete items that have been sold. Just make it clear that they were sold if you're going to edit it, because if they don't want people to delete it and then there's some drama later, like, well, this is what it was posted for, and then, you know, some scam type stuff. So just, if something's sold, just like make it clear that it's sold and no longer available, but don't like actually delete the reference from the thread. Next up, payments. If you have less than 15 buyer verifications, and there's like an easy system for verifying people, you have to be willing to take PayPal goods and services, aka G&S, as a lot of people call it. And that is, you can't try to force somebody to mark it as a gift in order to avoid PayPal fees. Sometimes people will offer to do that, but you can't just demand like, oh, I'll only take what's called F&F, family and friends. That's when you don't have to pay anything, and you know, if someone's marking it, it's like, oh, it's a gift. If you, again, have less than 15 buyer verifications, you cannot require that somebody send it that way, which pretty fair. And it's not like the PayPal fee is like 20% or anything like that. You can add the PayPal fee to the total, but in general, in my opinion, it's not the best etiquette to do so. Personally, I've never done so. It's just kind of like if you're selling something, that's sort of the cost of doing business is, yeah, you might have a few percentage points of fees. So personally, I wouldn't, but you can, and that is not totally unheard of, to tell the buyer like, okay, and there's going to be a 3% fee for the PayPal fee or whatever. You can also accept Venmo. The goods and services PayPal and Venmo fee is 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. So yeah, obviously that's annoying compared to the idea of getting it without having to pay. You're selling it without having to pay any part of it in that sense, but it's not that big a deal. For shipping, you have to ship within 2 business days of accepting payment, barring extenuating circumstances. Or if you communicate it with the buyer, you can have up to a week if they're okay with it. So, and again, that's 2 business days. So it's not like if you sell it on Friday, it has to be shipped, you know, before Monday morning, because it's like Sunday, for example, and probably Saturday doesn't count either as their business day. But yeah, how to package them safely. So I'm going to do, if I haven't by the time this is posted, a separate guide video to how to package and mail fragrances. So I will link to that in the description. Best places to buy a shipping label, definitely pirateship.com. That I'm not affiliated with them. I don't think they even have an affiliate program, so I'm not getting any money for referencing them. If I find out that they have one and I can get an affiliate link for it, great, I'll put it in the description, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So I have no ulterior motive in recommending them. They've just, basically they give you access to like the bulk business pricing for shipping labels and stuff. So you can often save, you know, like 20% or so on the cost, and you can buy USPS, UPS, all different kinds of stuff through it, and it's completely legit. I've mailed so many things through there before I started Decant Planet. Something to consider: should you ship outside your country? So if you do, you may want to consider saying, you know, if shipping, if you're buying internationally, like buy at your own risk, in terms of stuff is a lot more likely to have a leak or something like that when it's like going through this much more extended travel than if it's something close by. But you will definitely widen your potential buyers if you are willing to ship internationally. If you're in the US, I think that you'll have plenty of buyers, but it's always nice to be able to do that as an option for people who are not there so they can get whatever, but you don't have to. You can choose which countries that you do or don't want to ship to. In terms of vetting buyers, buyers should comment on the thread before sending you a message or chat. Even just like a single post saying PM or chat is sufficient. And they have this rule because they've added some anti-scam features that can automatically ban certain spam accounts. But if the accounts don't comment, they won't get caught. So they want people to just have a record of like commenting on anything where they message the person to try to buy it. Not gonna lie, there has been times as a buyer that I've forgotten to post something and it was fine, like, but try to follow the rules, I guess. But yeah, you can kind of take it on a case-by-case basis. If you're the seller, you know, if you want to be a stickler, like, hey, could you go and post and put this on my thread? I've never asked anybody to do that, and I never had a problem, but do it at your own risk. How to know what price to sell for. So Google the bottle or sample that you're trying to sell and see what the average price is. If your bottle, what if I just left it at that? Yeah, that's great advice. if your bottle or sample is partially used, obviously subtract whatever percentage is used from the cost. Like say it's 90% full, like first of all, automatically take off that 10%. Then I would say take off another 10 to 40%. And I know that's a pretty big range, but it really depends on how many other people are selling it and stuff like that and what kind of condition it's in. If you take off too much, even if you're trying to be nice, it's going to look suspicious, honestly. Like, say that you're selling something that normally would cost $10 for $1. That's nice, but don't, I would say, because that's just going to look too kind of sketchy. Like, why are you selling it that big of a deal? But if you take off too little, it's not going to sell quickly. So kind of about finding that balance. And I mean, as long as you're selling it to a price that works for you, or you could list it at a price that maybe you're willing to take a little bit before that, and you could lower than that, you could always say like, offers accepted or something like that. You can also do deals. Like if you're selling multiple things, you could say, spend whatever, get free shipping, or spend this much money, get X% off. I did that a lot. And when I did it, I often did minimum purchases because it's like I didn't want to be dealing with going through mailing something because somebody bought one $3 sample. With Decant Planet, I quickly removed the minimum because it's like that's a professional business. I'll deal with that and let people do that. But I think it's completely reasonable as an individual selling on there if you want to put, $10 minimum, $20 minimum, whatever you want to put, that you shouldn't have to if you don't want to like deal with all of it just to sell one $3 sample. So you could also sell a bunch of your stuff as a lot. People do that too. Like take all of these samples for $50 or whatever. So another question, should you use your existing Reddit account? Most people seem to, but I think there are some things to consider about this, and it definitely depends on your post history. The pro would be that it shows legitimacy. For example, first of all, if you've had a Reddit account for a while already, that's automatically built-in legitimacy that the account has a longer, age or whatever. And also if it, people can see that you're posting on other stuff or whatever, it just makes it seem more like, okay, that's a real person and not spam. A couple cons though. One, people in real life might find your Reddit more easily. Maybe you're not okay with that. Or people not that you're going to be putting, your full name on it with where you're selling it, but still, like, there's things that people could, I don't know, it's possible that someone would be more likely to recognize something as who you are or whatever, knowing other stuff about you. Another con, people from, the FragranceSwap subreddit might find personal stuff that you would rather keep separate. There definitely have been a few times where I clicked on like a potential buyer or something, or seller, and when I looked at their stuff and they were just like such a jerk or something that it was just like, ew, I'm not going to message you. But hopefully you're not like that, so that wouldn't be an issue. But yeah, I think that is something you could consider, whether you want to make a new account to kind of keep this separately or do it with your regular one. There's pros and cons to both. Some other rules, you can't post the same listings within 72 hours, even if the wording is changed slightly. Like for example, say you're trying to sell the exact same bottle or sample or list of them as your last thread, wait at least 3 days before making a new thread again. Totally reasonable, and it really helps as a buyer when you're browsing it that you're not like spammed with the same, people posting the same thing 5 times a day. You need to have the items on hand before accepting payment. So you cannot sell something just because you ordered it from a website and you're expecting it to come in the mail soon, even if it says it's out for delivery today or whatever. Because also, like, stuff can happen, and also what if it then got there and it was broken? That's not my rule. Even saying like, oh, you should do this is the best practice, that's literally one of the rules of FragranceSwap. You have to have the items on hand before you take any payment. This next one should go without saying, and I'm sure anybody who was going to do this anyway isn't just going to listen because somebody says not to, but no fakes. So just really sucks that so many people sell fake fragrance stuff. It, on so many levels, obviously it's like greedy and obnoxious. It's depriving people who love fragrance of like getting the one they actually want, and they might end up thinking that they don't like something that they would have otherwise loved because it's actually like a fake version that they tried. It makes it so much harder for the rest of us to try to just sell stuff because everybody's then not trusting it because of all these people doing fake stuff out there. So please do not ever sell anything that has any chance of being fake. Next, no bigotry. That, again, I would hope would go without saying, but never really does. That, obviously no slurs, no anything like that, and no harassing people, including about the prices that they're selling things for in their own thread. So I've seen this happen before, and it's really annoying. Like sometimes nobody's done it to me on there, thankfully, but sometimes say that there's a thread or whatever and somebody has their prices listed. Maybe somebody will post like, these prices are too high, it's unfair, you can get this for cheaper at Joma Shop, or like whatever, things like that. And it's kind of like, okay, mind your own business. Like, this is not a it's one thing if it's like a community post or something to discuss something and things like that, but these are like individual sales threads. Don't go in and be like trolling people's shit like that. Just don't. And I'm sure you wouldn't want them doing that to you. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Again, if you've made it this far, I will link in the description the post where I'm going to have in all of this detail, easy ways that you can kind of see all this, the parts that I would have otherwise done screen recordings of and copy and paste. And I'm also going to have a section there because sometimes the way that they used to have verifications changed a little bit. So I'd rather just leave that part for the post that you can click on and see than try to say what it is here in case they change it again. But essentially all it is like, say, to verify someone that you had a good experience with buying or selling, you would just go to the post, the thread that the transaction was from, and just post like, there's basically like one line you post that's just like, perfume bot buyer this, their username or something like that, and then they would reply with a line, and then the bot automatically adds to your little flare that shows up in that subreddit, whether the number of buys or sales or whatever that you have. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Happy to answer any questions, and that's what it is. I really encourage this. Even if you think, well, I only have $25 worth of samples, just sell them as a lot if you want to. Just put like, okay, take all these for 25 or whatever, then you don't have to worry about shipping them individually. To me, it's just like win for everybody. You get some money, somebody else gets to enjoy these fragrances and try them out, and then yeah, you can get more money that you can spend on fragrance, and just kind of like a nice ecosystem and less wasteful too, than having to just like throw something out that somebody else could have really enjoyed. And so yeah, hopefully that was helpful, and again, happy to answer any other questions about it, and I'll elaborate on some stuff that maybe I wasn't as thorough about in this video in the post that I'm going to be linking to. And good luck if you sell.